Hello.
And welcome to
Finish
Big.
Yes, we are listening our way through a Big Finish, all the releases in more or less
Go on,
order,
say it.
including such releases as Earth Search,
Such gems as Earth Search, Mind Warp, yeah.
to Judge Dredd, to
Everything.
Fly me to the moon.
Fly Me to the Moon. Yeah.
Everything that Sophie Aldred will get out of bed to do, we'll cover it here on Finish Big.
Yes, everything. And we're back today to the Doctor Who main range. The
yes.
meat and veg of Big Finish. We are listening to the Villains Trilogy. Who better to join us than our very own hero, Luke Malloy?
People are going to get really jealous that I've been on this twice now, and there's people dying to get on.
Yeah, but they're not as hot as you are.
Yeah. Okay.
I should say, here ho.
Oh, the ultimate here ho of Finish Big.
Hee-ho.
Can I ask you a question, Luke?
Please.
Does it upset you that in every single episode that you are declared the biggest hoe of Finish Big?
No, I love it. I never want to be shook from the pedestal. I was there at the first episode. I'm here at this episode. And I'll be here till the last.
In fact, I do have one other question though as well. How big is your Big Finish collection?
It's quite big. For decent size.
Sort of the overall, would you say 50%?
Oh fuck no! Has any?
I don't think anyone's got 50.
Well, we've got
Has
about
anyone
90.
got 50%?
I don't have got that much.
We certainly do.
No.
I've got probably 200-ish CDs, and I've stopped collecting the CDs now.
Oh,
I've actually done it. I've gone
Yeah,
digital.
well, they're going to stop
We
completely.
need to do that one day.
Yeah.
Cool.
He did. He
Meaning
said
to
to me
do it.
the other
I'm like,
day.
at the end of this year, and then I'm like, at the end of next year.
He
Hasn't
sort of
happened.
broached-
Once you do it once, that's it then, because you've thrown away a CD.
You know how you approach the sort of conversation of like asking to have a third in your bed. Yeah, you sort of tentatively say, do you want to have a threesome? Oh, by the way, I'm not asking that.
End the recording here.
That is how.
Oh, are you serious? Right.
No, that is how he approached the conversation of dropping the physical CDs for Big Finish. Sort of like,
I've been thinking about something. I'm like,
oh my God, where's this going? And then immediately he went, no. He just couldn't bring himself to do it.
It is a hard thing.
I'm holding out. I'm waiting for Big Finish to say they're going digital only, and then I'll be like, fine, it doesn't exist, and I can just.
I
do
do
that.
get that.
Nick Briggs, make the call.
They're getting there. They're making them more limited.
Right next to me, though, is 3 sort of IKEA CD shelves that go right to the roof. You can get like 10 on each shelf. So they sort of tower in this room. I don't know if it makes me happy or sad when I look at it.
You have a tower of Big Finish.
and can I ask, is it sort of pre-box sets or post-box sets?
No, it's pretty much all box sets.
Oh, okay.
The left-hand side is like all Paul McGann pretty much. Then the middle one is Fourth Doctor and Jago and Lightfoot. And then the right-hand side is all the newer stuff in Torchwood.
Well, you know what? Send us your address. If we ever decide to get rid of them, we'll send them all your way. All right?
Yeah. But, I mean, the main range, I think this is where we might clash. You being there at the time and me coming to it 20 years later. You know and I know that we're in for a clash on at least one of these stories. So,
What makes you think that?
well, my my little nickname for this Zoom chat
Oh my
is
God,
Davros is
I've
shy.
just seen that. No way.
I didn't know it.
Oh my God.
I have changed my opinion on some of these, actually. I've got to say, straight off, I thought I was going in absolutely knowing what I thought about all 3. 2 of 3 I've changed my opinion on. So, it should be an interesting chat.
Well, I will remind everybody the 3 that we're talking about. Omega,
To answer both of your questions, just a harmless little prick.
Davros,
It's tough at the top. No, Mrs. Baines.
and Master.
Yeah!
Although admittedly, it's the only time he goes over the top in the whole thing. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so it's the villains trilogy. Just before we get to the fourth villain, Zagreus, which will be coming up at some point. So yeah, these three designed to sort of look a bit more deeper into these particular villains. I think that was a good idea at the time.
Yeah, I think at the end of 2003, where basically Gary Russell said he wanted all innovative ideas, he wanted experiments, so they did experiments with narrative. We've already covered Flip Flop, we've already covered Creatures of Beauty. He wanted experiments with genre, so we had the musical, we had Jubilee, so they were doing a lot of new things at the time. And then at the end of the year, he wanted 3 stories that delved deep into the psyches of the 3 most popular villains of Doctor Who. Well, Luke, do you think it was a good idea?
Yeah, even as someone that wasn't listening to it at the time, it feels like the right thing to do, especially around the anniversary. And there's been episodes since that have dived into the psyche of especially Davros and the Master. But at this point, it was sort of an open playing field, wasn't it? And what you get is really interesting.
Was the new series back at... No, it wasn't, was it? So there was no hint that actually the backstories that they were given to these characters here would ever be contradicted.
Yeah, exactly. There's some really good stuff in, especially 2 of these.
Do you think these are the right 3?
Oh,
we could have.
sure.
I mean, we could have had Morbius, Rani, and
what
who else?
story are you going to tell about the Rani?
Well, you don't know. They could be.
I mean, every story with Morbius in it, I've not heard that very, very recent one. It just feels like they're trying to rebuild him again and again and again. I don't know where you can really go with that. I mean, Omega's got all that stuff about him being the sort of... He creates the technology that allows the Time Lords to do whatever. Davros and the Master are no-brainers, aren't they? I mean, the Rani, I've never been one for the Rani. I know you're obviously huge.
The monk? I mean, who else could you possibly do?
Yeah.
Well, when did he decide to middle?
Well, they were thinking about doing the Toymaker, weren't they?
Ah,
Before
yes.
Omega.
It was
Is the monk, like, worthy enough of the foot? It doesn't feel big enough, do you know what I mean?
And I don't think there's anybody else, is there? That's...
Well,
some people would say C-Tech, maybe.
Ooh,
yeah, but they did Sutek again, and it was shit.
The guard-like ones, I think, work quite well. But they're quite rare, aren't they?
And all the gods... Are you talking about the Guardians and things like that? And
yeah, they
it's
always...
so ambiguous, though, isn't it? Like, if you start unpeeling the mystique, well, they're not gods anymore. Well, it's like what happened with the Time Lords.
It's interesting that they're doing this Dark Gallifrey thing now, because we've got Morbius. Like, they're all getting their own trilogy, so it'll be interesting to see who they bring up later on. If it is just, the Master again, or... I mean, I know they're sort of Gallifreyan ones. And you couldn't really have Rassilon at this time, because Rassilon comes back later on,
of
or
course,
has been in Neverland,
him,
so they're sort of saving him for Zagreus, aren't they?
On Doctor Who. Yeah, he is back. And just as a small aside, that first Dark Gallifrey was superb. It's the best thing I've heard from Big Finish in many a year. And the fact that I've heard with some certainty that those trilogies are all writer-led, so there's no producer involvement. They're writer-led by the person that's doing all 3. That gets me really excited, because for once I think it's the vision of the writer rather than other people that may be in the hierarchy of Big Finish sticking their oar in and making it very boring.
Okay, well, should we talk about the first one?
I think we should.
Let's go. So, Omega was released in August 2003, starring Peter Davison on his own, doing a solo, with Caroline Munro, Hugo Myatt, and Ian Collier returning as Omega.
And Conrad Westmass.
Yeah.
Before Cariz.
Yeah, this was written by Nev Fountain, directed by Gary Russell, with music by Russell Stone. And I should also say there are spoilers.
Yes, there
that
will
will probably be
spoilers.
discussed. We never usually do that, but I feel like we should this time.
2003, it's 20 years old.
There's a good spoiler in this
People have had a chance. In fact, all of these are free on Apple Music, all right? You've had your chance.
Yeah.
Each time, we'll throw it out to our guest to enlighten
Okay.
us as to what they think about the particular stories.
Well, out of the 3, Omega was the only one I'd heard in full before. I don't know why I chose that one and sort of didn't move on to the other 2. I can't really remember what it was, but I liked it then, and I liked it even more now, and I remembered there being a twist. I mean, this whole story is about what happens at the end of part 3. That's the big sort of image. which is, I mean, we can sort of say it here, can't we? It's you've not been following the Doctor the whole time. You've been following Omega the whole time. But because of what happened in Amsterdam, he's still got bits of the Doctor's personality in him. And it's sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. You always hear the which, what's the good one? It's the good one, Jekyll?
Yeah, Hyde is the evil one. Yeah, because they actually talk about it in Master.
Oh, yeah. Well, I actually think this and Master have got quite a bit in common. Yeah, considering they're close, though, they sort of got thematic plot stuff in common. But yeah, so then the twist is that actually at the end of part 3, the Doctor turns up and you're like, what the hell? And you realise that the guy you've been following that you thought that was the Doctor the whole time was actually Omega. What I'd actually forgot, though, was that there's a second twist in part 4 where you find out the Doctor killing the Sentinels was actually like a thing. I mean, maybe that's just my new series brain of being like the Doctor doesn't really kill anyone, but it's like, oh shit, I did an accident when I ended up killing all these people.
The Fifth Doctor's got form. He just did that in Creatures of Beauty, where he poisoned an entire star system.
Yeah, but that's by accident.
Oh, that's all right then. Well, that's
all right then. I remembered that twist being the big thing going into it this time, and it didn't harm the story at all. I really liked it. I liked the Omega story anyway. I was a bit obsessed with it as a kid. The whole sort of like he flies to the black hole, and then the Hand of Omega goes in it, and it creates the source of it. It's a sort of stupid Time Lord lore thing that I was just obsessed with as a kid. And yeah, and there's a third twist of that old woman turning out to be a TARDIS for absolutely no reason.
I've got some trivia about that, but I'll come to it later. All right.
I think that bit was a bit of overkill, but I mean, at the same time, it's a bit nice and nuts.
What's the one Nick Fountain does next with the boys in the tower? The Kingmaker. I mean, that's twist upon twist upon twist. I thought we got off quite lightly in this one.
This is his first big finish, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So apparently he script edited Death Comes to Time, and he got very frustrated doing that because the fellow who wrote it, whose name I've completely forgotten, he wouldn't budge, and he kept saying to him, no, let's try this, do that, and he knew ways of doing it better or differently, and he couldn't do it. So then Gary Russell heard it with how frustrated he was. Well, come over to Big Finish and write for us, and here we are.
I don't think Omega's that interesting though.
What, the character?
That's my thing. Yeah. I feel like he's just in and out of black holes all the time. Every time he turns up, it's just three doctors.
Like a solid life choice.
But you got there the three doctors.
XXX.
You got there in the three doctors. Then Arc of Infinity doesn't really add much. And then, okay, you have a little bit of sort of backstory in this. But again, it's just him and him. It's always Omega's returning. Oh, Omega's going back. Omega's return. Like, I don't know. Out of all three, I think this is the weakest one. I always think of this trilogy as being really good, and then I'm like, oh, I've got to get through Omega though before I get to the better ones.
I think this is solid. I don't think it's good. It's probably second favourite of the three.
I feel like it doesn't go into as much depth as the other two do for the.
No, but I think that would be real overkill then. Like in the way you'd listen to them as a trilogy.
I found listening to it this time, it's always interesting when you go back and watch a film when you know the twist. Because then I find myself watching the plotting and seeing if the twist, one, is guessable, because I think the twist has got to be fair. You've got to be able to figure it out. And two, is it set up very cleverly? And actually, I was listening to the first 3 episodes and I was like, yeah, there isn't one scene, obviously, where you have Omega and the Doctor together where other people can see. So at no point could that be revealed, except for Carolyn Munro, who knows exactly what's going on because she's obsessed with him and wants to marry him and all that weird stuff that's going on there. My issue with this one was the tone of it. I don't mind the Omega stuff so much. I like the idea that he's a tragic figure that's trying to salvage his reputation and that he feels a bit hard done by. But I find that and the Neve Fountain's comedy stuff that's going on in the first 3 episodes, all this sort of panto stuff, this theatre that's going on, it's very over the top. So it's trying to tell a tragedy, but it's got this layer of sort of camp comedy over the top of it. And I'm like, I'm not sure tonally if this is hitting the right spot.
Oh, well, Past Perusal's the last company to offer time tours, went bankrupt years ago. Now, the novelty of seeing history firsthand actually wears off pretty quickly.
Does it really?
Well, the past isn't all it's cracked up to be. You can't touch anything. It's very dirty, frequently boring, and in almost all cases, there are no proper toilet facilities. Now, our company doesn't bother with all that. In a survey conducted by Hyperspace Holidays magazine, 85% of people questioned say that they preferred our version of history to the real thing.
Well, I can see their point of view, but surely it's better to...
Hold! Go further at your peril. Be warned, if you enter here, you will be in some danger. For in this place begins a perilous feat of stellar engineering.
Oh, dear.
Shh. Now, who could this be? No. No, it can't be. It can't.
I am Omega.
I know what you mean. I think it's going for that whole we don't have any control over how we're remembered and
Which is
how
a
they
great
tell.
premise.
Yeah, and how they tell the story, which again is something I love. It's what Hamilton plays with that. But I agree that the sort of comedy stick and just some of the listening experience in the first sort of 2 parts is a bit tiresome, even if it's fully in the right place, both plot and theme wise. It's just actually not that funny.
But I quite like that though. I like the first 2 episodes more.
You don't know
I like
comedy at all.
And Hugo Myatt as the actor guy.
Oh,
I thought
he's from
sort of brought
Nightmare.
it a bit more.
I thought
yeah,
know what Nightmare.
Do you know
is.
Nightmare? It was like a kids show. Like
it was on in the
Dungeons and
80s. He
Dragons.
He wasn't even
Like
an actor
the
with
first
his
sort of,
mother's
it was
eye
all
at
like
that
on
point.
green screen, and they'd be like, "Walk forward, 1, 2, no, that way, no." And he'd be like,
Terrible
warning, team.
No, do you remember the alarm? Do you remember? No, no, goblins approaching. Sidestep to the left.
So yeah, I think he was really great in it. I thought it was funny, and the stuff, the little bits, like go and follow the Greyus over here, and he's like, "All right, everyone, come over here." Like the all that sort of comedy stuff. I like that.
I always felt
I didn't hate it.
I
didn't hate it.
I always felt that Conrad Westmaster was saddled with that dreadful character of Cariz. But then I heard him and the writing, he got in this where he had to be all very over the top in a lot of scenes. I'm going to kill you, my love. Oh, wait, that is Cariz, isn't it? He's doing the same thing. Yeah, and I did feel a bit sorry for him. I do think by the time you get to the end of episode 3, that cliffhanger is so good. And let's not say that isn't good. It is great. It's the best cliffhanger, I think, since Dust Breeding Part 2 when the Master was revealed. For a shock. For like I didn't see that coming.
I don't know. I know it's not quite the same, but that Part 3 of Creatures of Beauty where it ends fully and there's a 4th part has that sort of
beautiful. But and then I do think the idea of that sort of psychological dimension of having the 2 personalities in one person literally fighting each other within a scene and wrestling for control, that's really interesting. And in fact, I would have liked to have got to that maybe at the end of episode 2. Maybe should have turned up then. And we could have done a bit more of that. Because then the last episode's got to do this whole backstory as well.
I felt like
all the twists. Yeah. And there's so much going on.
The last episode just was trying to cram in all the explanations, I felt. I was sort of losing interest by the end of it.
I suppose you can't have sort of Omega there for too long, in a way. It's one of the, it's a classic structure of a Who story, isn't it? Where the big god or monster comes in that 4th part. Because it's really hard to sustain what they're doing for a long time.
I do think Ian Collier was superb in this, though. Like
he was great.
After Arc of Infinity, which is so fucking boring, isn't it? For him to actually get some proper juicy dialogue to play.
It was great. I mean, that twist as well. It couldn't work on a visual level at all. It's one of them perfect for audio.
And they don't do it often enough, do they? The End of Natural History of Fear is another one. Have you heard that one?
Yes.
What was it? The Museum of All Antiquities, Whispers of Terror.
To be honest, the Natural History of Fear. I've heard that one. I've heard it twice, and I'm still just left a bit fucking unsure about what's just
Aren't they giant crabs or something?
Are they? No.
Yeah, they're giant. Yeah, they are. That's the twist.
They've got like 8 legs.
Oh, I missed that.
They've just got the personalities of the Doctor and Charlie for some reason. Would you like to hear some trivia?
Oh, give us some trivia.
I've got just a little bit of trivia on each story, so let's go with this one. In preparation for writing Omega, Neve Fountain rewatched both of the villain's previous escapades, the Three Doctors and Arc of Infinity. God bless him for doing that work. Omega's stories are comparatively few compared to the Master of Davros, he points out. So it was easier for me to see a story and character progression that I could build on. For instance, I noticed that each time we encounter Omega, he scales down his plans. In the Three Doctors, it was all destroy the universe stuff. In Arc of Infinity, he just wants existence in our universe. So in Omega, I scaled down his ambitions still further, so that now he's just worried about preserving his place in history. I treated Omega as the final chapter of a 3-part story. If you watch the 2 TV adventures and then listen to Omega, each story presents a chain in an ongoing narrative.
Okay.
I fully buy that. I think it does work as that sort of trilogy.
And then just a tiny bit of trivia about the twist at the end of episode 3. The idea to set Omega on an intergalactic heritage centre came first, alongside the notion that it was about the subjectivity of history. It was after Fountain had submitted a lengthy synopsis to Russell that he got a brainwave about the twist, that the Doctor was actually Omega and the Doctor wouldn't arrive until part 4. Russell was literally printing off the proposal to read when Fountain emailed him, asked for 2 more weeks to revise the synopsis and incorporate the twist elements. The first version was a much more straightforward story, recalls the writer. Omega really did kill the Scintillans. Sentia finds out his dark secret. The scales fall from her eyes. She betrays him, sending him and her off into the other universe. The deafness of Maven was initially more essential to the plot. An early idea was to have the ghostly Scintillans completely silent, and she would discover their tragic story by lip reading them. That would be another audio-only approach. It was Gary Russell's idea to make the mad old ladies into Time Lords for the final versions. So there was a lot of sort of to and fro-in with ideas here.
I think Sentia's very over the top, though.
Oh, Caroline Munro.
Yeah. I think she plays it a bit too much.
Oh, my God. I love you so much.
But again, it sort of ties in with the whole performative angle of the story.
It depends how much of that you can sort of take, though, right?
Yeah, definitely. About like good ideas and that. I mean, when you start to write a story, everyone has good ideas or like big images, but to actually make them have a good impact is so hard to do. Like everyone sits when they write a story, it has that big image, but if it can fail to make an impression. But with this, that part 3 ending is literally the execution perfectly done of an idea.
Can I just interrupt you for a second and just say that Neil Fountain does say his initial proposal was nothing about Omega at all. It was a very fan-wacky idea that had Cybermen, Sontarans, Time Lords, and K9 in it. So he had big ideas going into this.
Wow, it was, 20 years too early for all those stories.
Rich Chibnall got there first.
That'd be a whole box set, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I'm getting the feeling you're not too impressed by it.
No, I don't. No, it didn't. It's just Omega having a bit of a tantrum, really. Like, why aren't I remembered?
But if you're not an Omega fan,
yeah, but
I suppose if you're not an
is
Omega
anyone
fan,
a big Omega fan? Are you a big Omega fan? Do you love Omega that much?
Me and Vandakarian.
How would you rank the Omega stories then, Luke?
Oh, the Three Doctors has a soft spot in my heart, so that's first.
Okay.
And then it's this, and then it's obviously whoever's put Arc of Infinity not third in that list is wrong.
James H, I think.
It's as quiet as the grave.
Oh boy.
Oh,
No?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The only thing that I didn't quite like about this, I'm not sure it's a great look that Omega literally goes insane with the guilt of killing the Sentinels, and the Doctor's just totally compliant and blaming it on him and moving on. Like, it was the Doctor that did it.
Yeah.
But he's just like,
There was one thing I did sort of notice as a common thread through these stories, these tragic backstories of all these villains. Is
The Doctor's
Doctor's a
worse than the villain.
bastard.
Yeah. It's the Doctor's fault. He's the one that,
Every time.
In all 3 of them, the Doctor is worse than the villain,
Yeah.
and that must surely be intentional.
Yeah, I
They're
think
trying
so.
to draw this parallel between them.
I mean, that's an interesting
but-
idea, and certainly in the third one, where it
By
turns
the
out
end-
he's
by the end of-
responsible.
By the end of Master, I was a bit like, fuck now, just let him be good again.
I know. Don't you worry, we'll have Sylvester McCoy playing Uncle Winky before you know it. The hero will be back.
It's sort of the Doctor's fault. All in Zagreus, all that came about, isn't it? Because he made that decision. And
Oh, to
everything.
do the TARDIS, yeah.
Zagreus.
Yeah, he's very at fault in this period.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of a doctor?
A killer?
Killer who? No, it doesn't really work, does it?
That's the War Doctor, isn't it?
Oh, well, no, all the war doctors just walk into a room and go, "Don't call me the Doctor," even though I'm very charming.
Oh, can I just say, for the covers for these as well, I like that they're uniform, and I quite like the design of them all. And then Zagreus, I mean, but the only problem is, I think on the printing that you can't really see the Doctor and the villain at the top. I think they came out a bit too dark.
I've got to be honest, I wasn't too impressed at all by the covers. I think
they're great.
What's in the first one? Just a spaceship coming out of a hole.
Omega's probably the worst one.
No, I think they've got an atmosphere about them, haven't they?
Who did these terrible
I
covers?
just feel like they're a bit more epic than we've had before.
I think there's an atmosphere.
Oh,
about
it's
them.
Clayton Hickman. I wonder if he was chatting away to Gareth Roberts while he was designing them.
I noted two great lines. One was when Davidson he says that he wouldn't go to Blackpool though because it's too brash for me.
Oh,
which I thought was a nice little dig at Colin. And then someone asked him, "What did you have to put up with in your time of exile?" And he says, "The Brigadier mostly," which I thought was really nice as well.
I mean, there's great lines throughout this. Neve Fountain has been writing comedy scripts for a long time, so he knows how to write a snappy, witty line.
I prefer Davidson so much on audio than I do on the TV, and I don't think any of the others get that.
I was going to say I don't usually like solo Doctor stories, but this is quite strong for Peter Davison. This is like the first chance he's had on his own to do.
I just love the
and
scenes.
I think he actually works
when
quite
he's
well.
being told the half of Omega that's the Doctor, where he's being told that he's been murdering people throughout the story, and he's going, "No, I would never do that," and he's actually getting a chance to play something really different.
I wonder if Peter Davison had read the script before he started recording, because I don't think he does. And when he got to he must have been told before, and they must have warned him surely.
I think there are degrees of this. I think Colin Baker absolutely studies his scripts and knows his stuff as soon as he gets in the studio, and is always completely polished. But McCoy sight reads, and you can absolutely tell when he's doing that. And Davison, I think, can sight read and just get away with it.
I think he does, but I think it's because he's just so busy, he doesn't have time to.
Yeah, he's working.
I think he's got more of a career, hasn't he?
I can't believe I'm going to say this, live on a recording, but I agree with Luke Malloy. Well, I don't think he's the best, but I think he's far better on audio than he ever was on television, because he's an older man now. He's absolutely honed his craft, and he's sort of made decisions about how he really wants to play the Doctor. So I feel like the wisdom of the character, and I love how snappy he can be sometimes,
Yeah, it helps that I like Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy on the telly. But yeah, no, you're right. There's this extra just layer of wisdom, and he fully actually knows what he wants to do with the role. And also, his stories are actually competently told, aren't they, on audio? So.
I think in the latter half of Big Finish's run, which I've been uncomplimentary about, Davison had the best stories in that latter run. I always prefer Collins because I prefer Colin, but I think he had the better stories, the plots.
Well,
sort of mixed reviews though.
Yeah. Let's move on then to surprisingly a controversial one.
Not entirely. There are some comments,
okay,
they're saying it's absolutely appalling.
No. Okay. Well, Davros was released in September 2003. Stars Colin Baker. Terry Malloy returns as Davros, and we also have Wendell Padbury and Bernard Horsfall
as Mr. and Mrs. Baines.
Yes. Written by Lance Parkin. This was directed by Gary Russell, with music by Jane Elphinstone.
Yeah, I love that.
What?
Elphinstone. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. I got it right.
Great music in this, by the way. Great music. Well, over to you, Luke Malloy.
Oh, I mean, I was not influenced in this whatsoever, because it's one of I just threw it on, and I've actually never heard anyone speak about it or read anything about it. So
best way to go in. Best way.
Yeah, in a way that it was an amazing story, because this didn't work for me at all. And actually, I'm quite confident in saying this, because I've put this on a few years ago and didn't get more than about 25 minutes in to the first part. I was just so bored. Mark's
right, okay.
We can tell him why he's wrong afterwards.
I mean, what have I got here? I mean, it's like any other Davros story we've seen before. It's like, I'm dead, I'm good, no, actually I'm evil. you know, his rants are the best bits of the story. So you have obviously got the opening rant, and he has one in part 2. It's like a season 22 story in that Colin doesn't do that much. He's always on the outskirts of the actual story.
I do have some trivia about that.
It's long and nothing really happens apart from Davros sits in a room and everyone else runs around him. He spends a lot of time in part 2, Davros, talking to Lorraine when he should...
Mrs. Baines to you.
He should be talking to the Doctor in... Don't jump in. He should be talking to the Doctor in a way that, like it happens in The Witcher's Familiar. That feels like it's built for that sort of conversation. But instead he's just talking to a random woman. I think we don't explore what I think is the most interesting idea in this, which is, do you take food and tech off a man and a company that you despise all the values of? It's sort of raised in one of the points early on and then just sort of dropped. A nuclear bomb goes off at the end and everyone's just... and it's actually just a normal bomb and everyone's just fine and walking around. That annoyed me, and I don't usually get annoyed at those sort of stuff. It feels like it's just a setup for Davros, and that's something that everyone really likes as well. But maybe I'm just not that interested in Davros's backstory. Genesis was enough for me, and I sort of got lost with what was going on in the flashbacks. Were we meant to believe that Davros was mad, and then the Doctor appears at one point in the flashback as Colin Baker because Davros' circuits are corrupted or he's mad. I was lost a bit there, but generally, if I was lost, it was because I was quite bored. And I think the Doctor's not really in it. Davros doesn't do much but sit in a room. And I think this has just got a good reputation because it was the first Davros story back on Big Finish for years and years and years. And it's got Terry Malloy screaming a lot.
Yeah, I suppose it's true that it's a big return. It's very refreshing to have a Davros story with no Daleks in it.
Yeah,
so you do have that time to explore Davros'
deliberately.
backstory.
That absolutely was.
Yeah.
This needed Daleks to make it better.
No, I don't think it needs.
That's the Juggernauts, and I don't think it's anywhere near as good as this was.
Terra Firma, though.
I think Terra Firma's
over this.
anywhere near as good as this.
No,
that crazy drunk woman going, "Oh, let's let the Daleks in. We are the rebellion." What the hell was that?
I think what really didn't help this as well is the 75 minutes long episodes. That when it's something that you're not that interested in, that was just an extra layer.
I can see that. I can see that. I think that worked in its favour, but we'll get there.
Yeah, I really like this one. I love all the flashback stuff, exploring, because we hadn't had Davros at this point. Going back, finding out with the relationship with, it's Shan, isn't it? Not Shan.
Shan. They pronounce it as Shan.
They pronounce it Shan, but it's spelled Shan. I was really confused. Some people said Shan, some people said Shan.
Oh, the things to get stuck on.
And Shan does appear in Davros later on as the same actress. It confused me actually at the beginning what was a flashback and what wasn't. It wasn't clear to me. But anyway, that's just me. But once I got the hang of it, I'm just the way, again, a bit like the Omega stuff. Davros is this legend, and you have Lorraine Baines, played by Wendy Padbury, in a brilliant role for her. Finally, she gets to do some acting.
I think it's
leave
the
Zoe
best
behind.
performance she has ever given.
And actually, I think she's brilliant. And paired with Bernard Horsfall, who's
amazing,
brilliant and everything as well.
I loved him in this, I've got to say.
Because, and just those characters, with him, you think he's going to be the big villain that's going to work with Davros, and it doesn't turn out that way.
He sort
of turns out to be sort of on the Doctor's side.
He's such a man for the rules, isn't he? He's forcing them to have a 30-minute break every 4 hours, you know.
But then, you then having the interaction with the Doctor and Davros, sort of being
my God,
playing the apprentice basically together. I just think it's a great pairing with Colin and Terry Malloy. They work really well together. Those moments with Lorraine talking to Davros or the Doctor talking to Davros, those sort of just two in a room chatting, exploring, and Terry Malloy's great speeches. It's perfect for an audio. You don't need too many big, I know we have that explosion and things later on. You don't need too much action, too much touch of that. I'm happy to sit and listen to an interview with Davros on the Lorraine Baines show.
There is quite a lot of it that isn't that, though. there is quite a lot of it with just like them pissing about in the factory.
All that factory machine stuff, yeah.
That is maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's the stuff that could be edited out, I think. All of that stuff. I'm not, all of that with the journalist and that woman. But I'm more for just those scenes with Davros.
Historians have returned to the subject of the Daleks with new perspectives. The old prejudices have been stripped away. We now appreciate that there was much to admire about the Daleks and their creator.
And everyone thinks like this?
No, only a few of us carry the flame. But it burns bright. One day the whole of humanity will see it that way. I've written books on the subjects. They're bestsellers. People want to hear the truth.
I see. May I ask what the purpose of this meeting is?
To eat. To talk.
Ah. Your husband tells me there is no such thing as a free lunch. So what is expected of me?
Well, we know so little about you. But what we do know is inspirational. In the entire history of this galaxy, there have been few to match you in the fields of leadership, science, ambition. And to do that from such a world as Skaro.
It was the only world I knew.
Yeah,
this is so secret because I saw it in our A to Z recently. This is in my top 5 big finishes. If they made this now, I would be so shocked that they made something this crafted now. And I just think like now Big Finish is all like incident and overblown danger. And this is a stunning character drama, a slow burn horror. It's fantastic world building. Like there's so many scenes where they're talking about this business empire and this horrific world that we're in now, this capitalist society in the future. And so much detail is given to that. And what I love about it is it's carving out this corner of the galaxy in this story. This is pre-revelation of the Daleks, and he finds out about the famine in the universe, which he then goes and sorts out in Tranquil Repose in Revelation of the Daleks, which I loved. I thought that was a lovely touch. And she shows him how to do it, because she shows him exactly all the stock markets and all the figures. I even love that. All the conversation about the patterns in the stock market and how you can tell just from what people are spending their money on. And that's just the slightest thing in this story. I think it's an attack on war, on capitalism, on genocide, on biological weapons. It covers all of those themes in a lot of depth. It also gives a brilliant, brilliant reason as to why Davros is such a fucking arsehole in Genesis of the Daleks. We find out that the reason he did it all is because there's a great conversation about people building on another scientist's work. He wants to be the greatest scientist on Skaro. And she goes, well, you can't be that because people will always build on your work. That's how science works. And then the bombs start falling. He will literally wipe out everybody on that fucking planet if it makes him. And he's got the key of what to do afterwards because her work is all about the Daleks. So he steals that work, knocks out all of his rivals, and then puts it into action. I think it explains everything you need to know about Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I just don't think it's that interesting.
While setting up Revelation of the Daleks at the same time. I think the performances are wonderful. It's all very underplayed, which I love.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm quite hit and miss on Colin's audio performances, but I mean, this one sort of hurt my ears.
How? Explain that, though. Because I don't think he's over the top in this at all.
I think if he's not over the top, he's loud. Christ,
that's Colin.
That's season 22, Colin.
So loud. No, I prefer him. I prefer him in season 22, filling the screen rather than filling my ears.
I loved it when he got that bit at the end. It means they're going to kill us. He just knocks it out.
The bit I was probably most engaged with is when the sort of alarm clock goes off and he has that argument with it, and then he goes to work with Davros for a day.
He gets that screwdriver in his ear straight away, doesn't he?
Yeah, that bit, because it was like Davros and the Doctor in a room talking about things, and there might be all this good stuff in it that you say that they're talking about, but if you only get that when you engage with the story, and there wasn't enough in there to keep me engaged, especially with, as I say, how long the episodes were.
But then again, I think that is just so they can explore the themes, so they can deal with the continuity, so they can tell the character.
Well, like you say, it's time to build that world. That's all, that's all it is. Yeah, those discussions and everything, all that time is spent in this.
I love Lorraine Baines
business.
as this dispassionate historian that wants to get under the skin of Davros. And she's prying and getting there, and you're just thinking, and everybody's trying to manipulate him in certain ways. He has a scene with one of the workers, he has a scene with Arnold Baines, he has a scene with, and they all want to use him in different ways to further technology, their career, their company. And it's like the power of the Davros, the power of the Daleks with Davros, in that they're all going to get burned. And then when he finally reveals himself and he goes, I hope I'm not interrupting this fascinating conversation over the intercom. I just got chills. I was like, oh no, here it comes. And then that bomb goes off. And the bomb going off is vital because it's exactly what he did in Genesis and the Daleks. A dome, a bomb, wiping people out. It's his form. It's what he does.
It's just the same old stuff of what he does. That's what I mean. It's just any old Davros story that we've seen before. He pretends to be good. He's actually evil. Bombs. Chatting. Done.
As good as Ian Collier was as Omega, Terry Malloy, this is one of the best performances ever in Big Finish, I think. I think he's superb in this.
I preferred Ian Collier as Omega.
Oh my God.
I'm not. Hey. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm really not saying he's bad. I say there's some of the most engaging bits.
If I say this line, will you say the next one? The bit at the beginning where he goes, what is it?
This is not the end. This is only
the beginning.
His rants are great. You're right.
Can we do a terrible line of dialogue?
Go on.
A Dalek can't change its bumps. Oh, fucking hell.
When I first heard this, where they're making the machines in the factory, you meant to think that there's Daleks because you're supposed to think that, aren't they? And I quite like that it doesn't turn out to be Daleks.
But then the cliffhanger is one of the worst cliffhangers I've ever heard.
It's a typical season 22.
Yeah, I think Last Parking is like, I've got to put a cliffhanger in. I don't want it because it's not part of my story, but I've got to put it in.
You've got to incorporate the cliffhanger into Doctor Who.
One bit really stood out, and you made a comparison with The Witch's Familiar, because there's a moment in this not as offensive as the Doctor chucking Davros out of his wheelchair, because nothing will ever be as offensive as that. But the Doctor says at one point, you should be a stand-up comedian. No offence. I was like, oh my God, really? You wouldn't get away with that now, would you?
It's season 22, Colin.
He's a bastard.
I would take this over Witch's Familiar any day.
Oh, me too.
Absolutely.
No,
well, the thing about this is it's real. It means something. Yeah. It's a genuine backstory. Nobody's playing games. It's not all a big... Yeah. A load of lies.
They are playing games. Davros is literally pretending to be good for a bit, and then he goes evil.
No,
it's exactly
Davros
the same.
Is extracting all the information, and then now he's gone off and he's going to go and do his evil plan with the dead in Tranquil
It feels like in The Witch's Familiar they actually have some sort of resonance between the two, between Doctor and Davros, that you don't get here.
I'll take that.
Actually, it's the only one
in the dome rather than all of that shit revolting in The Witch's Familiar.
It's the only one in the three where I don't feel like the Doctor and the villain have a sort of connection. I think that's probably why it's my weakest one.
What madness is this?
I've tried this twice.
Give you some trivia on the story that may allow you to see it in a new light. Gary Russell says, each play in the trilogy had to be a character piece about what made those three villains tick. For example, what makes Davros tick? Lance's script was the first to come in, and it was everything I could have wanted. It was about Davros the man. I was very pleased. I've just put that in just because he says something nice about it. But no, the genuine trivia is this. So Lance Parkin says, this is a Doctor Who story, but one that focuses on Davros, reiterated Parkin in his proposal. Don't worry, there will be plenty of Doctor, just as normal, but the viewpoint will be that of Davros. The cliffhangers will see the Doctor threatening him, and not vice versa. That's when this was a 4-part story, by the way.
It would have been so much better.
It will be subtle stuff, a matter of opening and closing scenes in slightly different places, rather than start the scene with the Doctor about to open the door and stepping through. It will start with Davros on the other side of the door, and the Doctor will step in. The advantages are we see more of Davros and more of what makes him tick, making the story an insight into his psychology story, and we get to see a Doctor Who story where, from the monster's point of view, see what it's like to be on the receiving end of the Doctor's techniques. And there is a lot of that going on in this.
Yeah, that's something I've not thought about listening to this. It does do everything from Davros's point of view, really.
But I mean, Master does that as well, doesn't it?
This is one where when you don't like something, things just that start piling up, don't they? Because
like the witch is familiar.
Well, yeah, because when he mentions that he's got a formula that can take down the stock market, as someone who's literally not bothered about sales or whatever, I was just like, that's ludicrous. That's absolutely ludicrous. The stock market is based on so many random factors or whatever. How has he got a formula that takes it down? But that is just such a non-entity point.
He's a very clever man. That's why.
To get hung up on. Yeah, and it's that sort of thing. If you like it, you just go, it's because he's clever. Because I don't like it, I'm like, what? How stupid.
I think for me, like the whole Power of the Daleks thing of I was just waiting for him. He was so smooth with Mrs. Baines, and then all the flashbacks to Sean and his feelings for. Oh, and actually, in those flashbacks where he's watching her fucking that other man and getting all jealous about it, I was like, oh, Davros, you pervert. But that's hardly surprising, is it? I'm sure we can still have a fiddle down there. Did I just say that out loud? Yeah, I did, didn't I? Where was I going with this? Yeah, so but I did, as a result, the last half an hour.
Familiar.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh.
Unless he used it in Journey's End to make some more Daleks with.
No wonder he's so angry. Honestly, it's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Can't quite reach down there. Sorry, will someone get us on track?
What were you talking about?
The last half an hour is basically Davros taking control, setting off the bomb, all of that. And I just love all that stuff. That's Davros at his best, being just an evil fucker.
I can see from the strength of this why they went on to do I, Davros the next year.
Me too. I'm surprised they didn't do I, Master, though, as well.
I might just not be that big on Davros, really. Because
that's fair.
Because I've listened to I, Davros, and that didn't really do much for me either, and people love that.
I mean, it's like all those flashback scenes, but like a 4-part series, basically.
Yeah.
Did you like Masterform?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I gave up after an hour.
Yeah, I think I definitely prefer the Master to Davros.
I got to the bit where Geoffrey Beevers was in love with somebody, and I was like, "Oh no, I don't think this is for me."
Oh, that's so good. I mean, for a Davros story, I do like Palindrome in Time War 4.
Oh, we haven't heard that yet.
No, we haven't heard that.
With Paul McGann. That is an amazing story. One of the only Time War stories that's actually good.
On your recommendation, we shall seek that out soon.
It's really, really good. And that's Terry Malloy and Paul McGann. But great Davros story.
Did you have anything to add on Davros before we move on?
Did I have a what on him?
Have you got anything on Davros? Come on now.
No, I think this is one of the stronger Davros stories.
Is this your favourite of the three? This is my
might
favourite
be actually, but it's very close.
I mean, we listened to the second half on a train journey to London, a 90-minute train journey to London, and I said to him when we got there, it's like no time passed.
Like I am the first to want shorter episodes, but it just flew by the whole 75 minutes.
God.
It really did.
Maybe this is a classic new thing, you know.
Well, no, I am fully the outsider here, as you've shown. I mean, on the website that cannot be named, this has got a 9.1.
But as you will see in the comments later, you're not alone.
I don't know whether it is that sort of being there at the time. Davros has been away for ages. I think
it's that though, because any other Davros story, any other Big Finish Davros story, I'm not too.
But this was the first, wasn't it?
I don't know if that matters. This was one I would choose to go back to.
Juggernauts?
Juggernauts is
Well,
right. It's got mechanoids in it,
it.
but like Terra Firma, not too bothered about.
Oh, I loved it.
I can't think of any other
Davros.
Davros stories. I'm like, oh yeah.
Don't you remember Terra Firma when he's in the console room with Gemma and Sanson? Sorry, spoilers. And he's there cackling away like a lunatic as he's taking them away from him. Oh, it's so scary.
Yeah, so good. So
I like both approaches.
I think a companion really would have helped this for me.
This was supposed to have Perry in it. So the original version of this had
Was
Perry
she-
in it. And what Lawrence Parkin says is it didn't lose anything by taking her out.
Was she
It would have really helped me, I think.
Would she have had the Kimberly,
girl role,
role, and be captured by Davros at the
Yeah.
end? And she'd be like,
Maybe
God,
he would have
Dr.
sent
Davros!
her in early and said, "Go on, be my student."
But he can't really have Perry in it because then she doesn't really recognise a Dalek in Revelation of a Dalek. She'd be like, "What's that? That's half of Davros over there."
I do think it's nice when they do that with these stories. Like, it's not like a direct, this is between Resurrection of the Daleks and Revelation of the Daleks, but there's just references in there where you can go, oh, okay, I can see.
Oh, have we got
how
Chronology
he's got
Corner
from
coming
there
up
to
later?
there.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
I do agree with you. This is very much set in that Revelation part of the galaxy, and I did appreciate that. I also liked how the moon Focus gets a name drop, and that was the one in Once and Future.
Oh, wow.
Oh, classic.
That's the one that's got Sylvester McCoy in and Davros there.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Johnny Morris was paying attention then.
Actually, that one's in future with Davros. That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that's one of
That
the best
was alright,
ones.
actually.
What is wrong
I
with
forgot
the
about
pair of
that
you?
one.
That one actually uses the fact that he's got a body in flux.
I like to think, when you said it's in the same universe as Revelation, I like to think that Kara from Revelation, what a pretty little box, what does it do? That she is the business rival of the Baineses.
Well, nowadays, if this was made, she'd be recast, or they get Ellen
Yeah,
Pond,
yeah,
and
yeah,
she
yeah.
would play one of the characters,
Oh,
or
it'd be
instead of
great,
Rain
wouldn't it?
Baines, they'd
Yeah.
all get together and have a Revelation reunion set before as a prequel.
Well, I figured we weren't going to come to any great consensus about this story, but I do think it's refreshing to hear such strong opposing viewpoints about the same story, because it just goes to show we can all do that with Big Finish.
Oh yeah, so I've got nothing more to say.
See? We're still friends. We can still
We're still
flirt.
friends.
Don't worry.
This one's just not for me. I can't see me ever going back to it.
Oh, God. Right, okay, let's move on then. Master was released in October 2003, featuring Sylvester McCoy and Jeffrey Beavers returning as the Master. Also guest starring Philip Maddock and Anne Riddler. This was written by Joe Lidster, directed by Gary Russell, with music by David Darlington.
Yes, I've got a question for Luke Malloy, just to see just how much of a deep dive into Classic Who he's done. And I need him to tell me 2 roles that Philip Maddock has previously played in Doctor Who, and 1 role that Anne Riddler has previously played in Doctor Who. Off you go.
Oh my god, how does the brain just freeze up? Philip Maddock's in Power of Kroll,
Oh,
isn't he?
yes.
He's in The Brain of Morbius. He's in 2 others, isn't he?
He's in one other.
He's in the Crotons.
Yes, and his all-time best, The War Games.
Oh,
The Warlords.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And the Peter
of
Cushing film.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about Anne Riddler?
I don't know.
Now, you might not have
I
seen
actually
this
don't
one,
know.
although I'm sure you probably have. You've seen all the Classic Who that exists.
Yeah, give us the character. Well, give us the character and I'll try and guess the story.
Gemma Corwin.
Oh, fucking hell.
I wouldn't have got this.
No, because she sounds so different.
It sounds like a name that's either Troughton or Pertwee.
It is Troughton. It's one with missing episodes. There's only 2 episodes in existence, but she is in one of them.
Oh, there's only 2 episodes of it. The Moon Base?
It is a Cyberman story, but it's not that one.
The Wheel in
Yes!
Space?
She's the one that Troughton's
She-
flirting with in the...
Yeah. Got it. I've only seen The Wheel in Space once, and all I can remember of it is them cyber eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that man who dies like a monkey when the Cybermen attack him. It's very odd. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't have recognised her voice at all.
Oh, no, she's got older.
Well, yeah, I know.
He does
but-
have this thing about people getting older. He doesn't... It makes no exceptions for it.
Oh, and The Wheel in Space is directed by Tristan Dever Cole. It sticks out because it's a weird name.
I'm a little bit hard.
So I'm just
If I'm honest.
reasserting the fact that I know.
The fact that a
something
new
about
series fan has just said that, I'm a bit hard.
Okay, well, Master. What do we think of Master?
What, to the guest again?
Right, okay. So Joseph Litzer's Doctor Who isn't my favourite style of Doctor Who.
That surprises me.
He's very good. He's a very good writer. I commend him for having a style in general. When you listen to his stuff like The Rapture and this and The Gathering, he has a style. So many writers that write Doctor Who don't have a style, and I think that's well worth.
What is it though? What's his signature?
He sort of tends to sit in an idea and let it like spread its sort of talons out. In the absolute opposite way to, say, Moffat, who constantly burns up ideas every 2 seconds. I'm not saying I don't like Joseph Lister. I think they're just very different styles of Doctor Who, and he's wrote for Torchwood, and I think his style suits Torchwood perfectly because it's that he can really delve into the sort of grittiness and whatever. Saying all this, I think this is the best of the three. I think it's really good, and I think it's different. It's even different to the two that have just gone. And yeah, it does have a few parallels to Omega, but it is different. And this was it was totally fresh. I'd never heard this before. And at the beginning, I felt, yeah, it's good, it's atmospheric, but I was waiting for a bit more because I did know this one came with a bit of fan hype. And up until sort of halfway, it hadn't really pushed itself out of like, what is bad? What makes the Master bad? But then in part 3, it really, really hits its stride, and you get loads of shocking revelations, and the sort of the backstory between the Doctor and the Master that we find out is fascinating and almost instantly accepted as headcanon. And I liked so much of this, but there are like a few things I would change just to make it more me.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, but we'll get into it. I want to hear your sort of initial.
Over to you.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. This is one of my favourites. I wasn't sure if people talk about this or not, because I think this would be an even bigger classic. Like, if you just put snow outside instead of a storm, this would overtake The Chimes of Midnight, I think, as being that atmospheric,
like
spooky, in a house story. It's a bit Radio 4 drama as well. Just those characters, especially part 1. And I love that. This is my favourite style of story. You can listen to this in the dark. Yeah, and Sylvester McCoy as well. My least favourite Big Finish is Sylvester McCoy, solo Sylvester McCoy stories.
Why?
What's he done to one, I don't like Sylvester McCoy on his own, and 2, those stories tend to be terrible, apart from this one.
You don't like Sylvester McCoy, divorced of Sophie Aldred. What is wrong with you?
But yeah, just that character interaction in part 1, and then part 2 is almost like a two-hander between the Doctor and John, whatever his name is, Jeffrey Beavers. It's a slow burn, and then the revelations start coming out a little bit more, and then you get the death in part 3, and as it goes into part 4, like I really like the structure of it. I just love the atmosphere.
It's got, you can cut the atmosphere.
Tons of atmosphere.
Yeah. And I think Joseph Lister's signature is how dark he is willing to take Doctor Who. And it's very fucking dark indeed. There are some scenes in this where I was highly discomforted. In episode 4, where Philip Maddock was breaking down and begging his wife to love him and talking about murdering those girls and removing that. And it's so dark. Probably unacceptably dark, but this is just that time where that stuff just flew and they experimented, and I love it. I like the structure of this. I think the first episode is a really great chamber piece with those 4 characters, and they're going to unpeel like an onion, all of them.
It's almost like a stage play. You could see this being on stage.
But at that point, it is the first act of the play where everybody is just as they seem to be, with a few hints and whispers of someone going, "You're going to die tonight," or something like that. Part 2, my God, easily Sylvester McCoy's best performance since he started Big Finish at this point.
Apart from the cliffhanger.
Well, once we've gotten over that.
Yeah. The first 2 cliffhangers are sort of intangible messes. That is a little downside of it. It's just a scream and whispers, and you've got no idea what's going on. It's the worst type of Big Finish cliffhanger.
It's moving. Spelling out a name. D O C T
That second episode, though, which is a discourse on good and evil, like you said there, he takes that premise and it's a two-hander, effectively, between Beavers and McCoy, talking about that, and that bit where John Smith talks about picking up the baby that had just been born, and he had the thought in his head that he could just shove the baby on the floor and shatter it. It's so dark. I was going, oh God, what is this? But kind of in a good way. It pushed me to the limits of what I thought was acceptable. Then I figured it was going to go off the rails, because I remember that the maid was deaf and that they put a stupid effect on her voice. Actually, it was nowhere near as bad as I remember. And the cliffhanger to episode 3, where she comes in and goes, "Don't you recognise me?" Death was a great cliffhanger.
Yeah, I think after... no, I wasn't bored. I was not bored in any way. But I think I was starting to be like, where can this go in part 4? So when you do get that cliffhanger, it was like a proper...
What's so impressive, though, is unlike what they do on Big Finish now, or rarely do on Big Finish now, it's entirely performance-driven. It's meaty character parts that are allowed to take their time as we get to know the relationships, and then we do surprising things with them. It's a few people in a contained setting, and it means you get actors like Philip Madder, who's brilliant in this, Jeffrey Beavers, who just knocks it out of the park as John Smith. I mean, he's clearly been reading Human Nature, right?
Well, I was going to say, this is the Master's Human Nature.
It is, yeah.
That's, yeah.
And whilst I really liked the twist of the Doctor giving him 10 years of freedom from the madness and a normal life, I thought that was lovely. The idea of the Doctor doing that. I really hated all the backstory about them killing the kids.
That, though, and then
the Doctor making the lousy choice and being responsible for the Master. That is not my headcanon of what happened in the past.
No.
My big issue that I was like, this is brilliant, but I just think it would work a million times better if the kids were never named. That sort of thing you should keep, so you just never know whether it was the Master or it was the Doctor. As soon as it got named that it was a Doctor that killed a kid as a kid, I was like, oh, like you always want that hint that the Doctor's evil, but you don't want it full on confirmed. So that was one of.
Well, don't you hear the Doctor make the choice and go, yes, take him? Or something like that. I was like, what? Really? Okay.
That's one of the things I would sort of tweak, is just keeping the kids ambiguous.
If the Doctor knew he was responsible for Death, the Master being Death's puppet all this time, and the madness, it makes all of his arrogance in John Pertwee's time really fucking nasty. If he knew he was responsible for all of this.
Suits the Seventh Doctor, though. That absolutely, this is written for the Seventh Doctor. No other. I can't see any other Doctor doing this one.
And you will understand this, Luke, because we was just talking about this the other week. It's the ghost-like Seventh Doctor, where he gets to do the purring menace. And great
stuff about saying it is performance-driven, and it is a great script, and so it does feel like that theatre piece that you were talking about. I mean, if we're talking about the actual story, the Death thing, I'm like in two minds about. I think plot-wise, it's quite cool. He makes a deal with Death to give the Master some sort of free time, and then the Master's put in this impossible situation, isn't he, where he basically has to remain as the Master or he loses the love of his life, sort of thing. But this Death thing...
Trouble is, though, they call it Death... Death, but then they double back on it and they go, it's an abstract universal entity.
That's the second thing I'd change. It's just leave it as a mysterious thing, Death.
Just leave it as Death. That's terrifying.
As soon as they get it's a construct, I was like, oh, like that's just boring, isn't it? It is boring as soon as that happens. I definitely cut that assassin plot that bookends both of it.
Yeah, I was about to say I like the way that it bookends, though, but then it goes into and it sort of ties up the story quite nicely at the end.
Did you realise that was Death all along?
No, I didn't know. I couldn't remember when I heard this before what it was all. I knew there was something involved with it, and there'd be another little twist, but I couldn't remember what that was. So I quite like that, though. But I like the way it's narrated and the way, like the bell rings and sort of interrupts the narration and stuff. Those little stylistic directions. I quite like that.
One thing I would change...
It brings you into the story even more.
Well, yeah, I kept waiting for a big twist, and when it turned out what the twist was, I was like, oh, is that it? Okay, fair enough. It didn't really tie into the actual story, though, did it? Not the main story.
No, not the main, but
It's just Death turning up
It's
again.
just Death, yeah. Like,
but it ties it up, doesn't it? Yeah, because he's.
I will get you one day, Doctor.
I thought
Promising.
it cheapened Death as a thing, that the Doctor just makes loads of deals with it whenever he wants. He just keeps making a new deal. When is she going to, be like, when are you keeping your side of the bargain, Doctor?
What's so interesting, right, was Beavers read the script for this, and he insisted that there was one scene where he was the master, because he said, they will feel shortchanged if I'm in this whole story and I never get to play, full-on evil master. So that scene in episode 4 was added late because at the end of the story, it's like he's choosing, isn't he, between who to kill, and we just cut away from that story. We don't actually get a resolution to it, and he's still John Smith at that point.
Well, he sort of comes out of it, doesn't he, and comes back into himself. He escapes. The master sort of escapes just for that one scene, like you say, and then goes back in.
The one thing I would change is when it looks like when Jacqueline's killed in the last episode, and he's sort of crying, I would have had that be the point where, because I would say, John Smith is in love with Jacqueline, she's dead, and then the master comes out at that point, and I would have him emerge then, and then that's when he sort of goes off. I would have changed that bit, but
I would change the cat noise they make, because it's the same sound about 3 times. It's
horrifying.
I've got that on a sound effects CD somewhere. It's the same one, and it's the same
is it
cat
the Ghost
noise.
Watch one?
No.
Sounds
it goes
like it.
yeah,
We're talking a lot about what we change, but I think that's sort of like a good. We basically want this story to be perfection because it is so close. I think
So close, yeah.
Like it feels like it just is a few tweaks away.
It's so deliciously dark. And it has some really interesting things to say about evil.
Joe. I mean, does this because you're always sort of saying that Doctor Who needs to have an element of fun, or having sort of have that bit for the kids. I know this is slightly different because it's audio and Big Finish and whatever, but does this not sort of challenge you on that, especially when you're slagging off Heaven Sent for being too dark and too not for the kids?
But this has protracted dialogue scenes, which Heaven Sent didn't have, just an irritating monologue. Because I don't think my argument even lands here, because it just wasn't relevant. This isn't Doctor Who for a wider audience. This isn't Doctor Who for children. They were making Doctor Who for us, you, me, Mark, our sort of ages at this point. And so I kind of think anything goes. When it's back on the TV and it's being made by the BBC and it should be broadcast at 7:30 or whenever, that's when I think that rule applies.
Because I think
during all this spin-off stuff, anything goes,
I do get there's different rules, but I think that this is partly raved about because it's so dark and cool and not silly. It's exactly the sort of thing that
it's a little bit silly
Doctor
in places.
Well, yeah, no, but he's not going to get your spoons out and start playing.
No, wasn't that great?
On Death's
She goes
tits.
to him. Death goes to him. She goes, "You're no fun anymore." She goes, "You don't mix your metaphors, and you don't play the spoons anymore." She goes, "You just go around tidying up the universe. You're so boring." And I was going, yes, you're talking my language.
I think that sort of, realism's the wrong word, but that sort of grittiness that Doctor Who barely goes into in that level of depth that you get in this, and how dark it goes. And because it's not really funny, it sort of doesn't feel like Doctor Who, and that's where I'm like, Joe Lister is basically writing a Torchwood with Doctor Who
This
characters.
would be a Torchwood script now, I think.
Yeah. Because he did Broken. Broken's, pretty much raved about as the highlight of the Torchwood range. He's very, very good, but Doctor Who, I don't know. But then I would never take his stuff out of there because it's just so different that you need a different flavour in it. If we're talking about like what the thing's actually trying to say, because I got a little confused. Because part 2, as you say, is like 2 scholars discussing evil. And by the end of it, I feel like we don't really get anywhere. The whole thing sort of builds to like, there's no reason why people are evil, they just are. And then in the end, it sort of blames it on death. I don't think actually any of that conversation is relevant. I think it really just is. It makes it makes the Master good and the Doctor evil to show you that there's no such thing as evil. Is that what it's going for?
it uses a science fiction concept to explain away the Master's terrible things, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, I think that was...
I prefer it that he's just a nutter.
As soon as it's like, oh, death made him do this stuff, it's a bit like, oh, you're just shifting the blame to something else.
And because the doctor told it to.
Again, it's just one of them other little tweaks where I would just know that out. But it's more than made up for with just interesting dialogue, atmosphere, performances, and just the fact that it's a different flavour.
Do you know, Joe Lister says that Anne Riddler and Philip Maddock, they were so insistent on getting this right because they knew it was a good script. He says, before they start a scene, Philip will be checking exactly what stage his character was at. And on the second day of recording, Anne Riddler asked if she could pick up a line from the previous day because it had been bugging her all night that she hadn't got the intonation right. That's the sort of perfection these actors were going for. And I think they get those roles.
Yeah, well, a lot of people say sort of like, oh, Terry Malloy is the Big Finish Davros and his performances are great. I am fully on board with it when we get here, and it's like Jeffrey Beavers is the master for Big Finish, because I have never heard a Big Finish of Jeffrey Beavers as the master that's been less than exceptional.
We should all be thankful that Anthony Ainley did not come back at this point, because I can't imagine him doing this any
Did you know what his demands were?
Oh,
he wanted three times the money the doctors were getting and script approval.
He wouldn't like this. He'd be like, "There's too much acting in this. I'm not doing it. I need to like chuckle."
When can I laugh?
Yeah.
When can I say I am the master?
Have you got any trivia?
I do, as a matter of fact. Sorry, I don't know why I went so camp then. It's probably because that's how high you can go. Lister submitted a 3-episode storyline called The Master. The first thing I realised whilst devising the synopsis was that I'm not too keen on science fiction. You can tell that in his work, can't you? He was always going for the feeling, for the emotion, for the people.
As well.
Yeah, me too. Gary has specified that it was to be set on an alien planet, but I felt I'd be better suited to writing an Earth-based story. The compromise was that I made it a very historical sounding story. I had never had any major interest in writing for the Master because he's not got much going for him, psychologically speaking. More often than not, he's the man in black who wants to take over the universe. So I figured I'd write a character-based story, which is what Gary wanted, and I enjoyed writing. I'd really have to get inside his head, the Master's, not Gary's. He has no friends, no companions, he always loses, and everything he does, every mad plan he has, results in deaths for others. I figured he was quite a tragic character, and I do mean the Master, not Gary Russell. And suddenly, how rude! Suddenly realised what I wanted, the story I wanted to tell. Rather than looking at how terrifying the Master is, I wanted to explore how sad and terrifying it must be to be the Master.
Very good.
He's thinking about it, isn't he? He really is.
And so this is set. I always think of this whenever I listen to this story, like the world that it's set in. It's like it's not Earth, but it's very Earth-like. Perfugium.
I think there's a bit. You have to go with it a bit, don't you? When it starts, it's all a bit quite confusing at the beginning. That you have to just go. The first time you listen to it, you have to just go with it because it is set on this weird planet that's a bit like Earth, and you're listening to the Master, but he's not the Master, and the Doctor knows him but doesn't know him.
But ultimately, it's set in a house which we can absolutely understand, in a village which we can absolutely understand.
About the world that
it may as well be Earth because it's all stuff that we can relate to.
Oh, when you find out that Philip Maddock was the one behind the killings of the girls, that's a proper shocking twist. That's
terrifying, wasn't it?
Amazing.
I think it's very brave when an actor, because I think actors like to play heroic characters when they come out at best, when an actor goes full on sort of ugly and pathetic like that and really does it, like properly. I always think it's so impressive. And he's just so pathetic in that scene, isn't it?
But it's set up really well in part one with their characters and like he's that judge or whatever, and then you can see his sort of issues and prejudice, and then she goes and has a go at the maid.
Adjudicator.
It's a complete bit, adjudicator.
Oh, maybe it's from the New Adventures.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, and then she goes to when she talks to the maid and everything. She's it starts off with this. You think, oh, okay, there's this nice dinner party, and then you just sort of see the cracks in all their characters, and
because I've possibly been more critical than I thought, because I thought this was truly excellent. My favourite scene in this was when it's revealed, when John Smith explains that he took his memory away and who he is. When the doctor does, to John Smith, and then John Smith says, "Then kill me." I thought that was incredible, that moment where he said, "I don't want to be that person, kill me." And I thought, wow, that is a real moment between the Doctor and the Master, and for the story to get to that point, and for me to be like, yeah, he's better off dead than being the Master again. I was like, we've gone some dark places and I'm on board. I thought this was excellent.
Yeah, I don't think I could pick a favourite bit. There's loads. There's just so many of it. Oh, there's so many juicy conversations.
Was everyone getting Chimes of Midnight vibe every time that girl screamed?
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is quite Chimes of Midnight. Yeah. I mean, even just talking about this now, I sort of want to listen to it again tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to go back to this one. Yeah,
Christmas wouldn't be Christmas without pumpkin. It just wouldn't be Christmas.
I think it's probably the difference is Chimes of Midnight does have a bit more Doctor Who-ness going for it, doesn't it?
And sort of the more absurdness in Chimes of Midnight.
But this is, as you say, a very dark, very serious chamber piece.
You wouldn't want them all to be like this, like every single...
No.
Roll
on Zagreus.
Zagreus lives inside your head. Zagreus, what is it?
Lives among the dead.
Zagreus
sees you in your bed.
And eats you when you're sleeping. Oh, I thought we did that very well together. Oh, where are we going next?
Where do you want to go next then? Dr. Ho's?
Hey ho.
Hey ho.
It's Dr. Ho.
I'm the honey ho round here.
It's time for Dr. Ho. Dr. Ho says about Omega. You ready for this? It's hard to know what to think of Omega because it verges between being brilliant, shocking on the one hand, and highly imaginative and bland, expository and irritatingly theatrical on the other. Oh, he's such a pretentious prat, isn't it? You read these reviews, Luke Malloy.
Not this one. Christ. Have you heard of a full stop?
Fountain would jettison a lot of the pretension in his next script and really go for the comic jugular. But it feels as though he is trying a little too hard here, and the result is a patchy story with possibly Gary Russell's weakest direction to date.
It's all one sentence again.
6 out of 10. Dear, oh dear. Well, I guess we should just move straight on to Davros, don't you think?
Oh, how about you give it out of 10, Davros?
Oh, let's have a look.
10?
10 out of 10. A story that redefines Davros beautifully and drips with malevolence. When I first heard this story, I thought it was far too long. 150 minutes?
Yes.
And was quite blandly directed, but I was so wrong on both counts. Not if you listen to Luke Malloy, I wasn't. I wouldn't cut a single scene from this story, and I found that the 2.5 hours of Mysterious flew by this time. I've sort of jumped towards the end. It gets it's quite long. Oh my God, look how long this sentence is. It's one of the best portrayals of a villain we've ever seen on the show and elevates Davros to some nightmarish pedestal where he can glare down malevolently at the other bad guys we have encountered and laugh at their ineptitude. He's really scary, and that just feels right.
I give Omega a 7.5 out of 10. I give Davros a 3.
To quote you, you quoted this to me recently. I have heard you be wrong many times before, but this is the wrongest I've ever heard you be. Moving on to Master, far better than I remember. Master is a theatrical piece that plays games with its characters in a deliciously cruel ways. Skip to the end. For most of its running time, however, Master is an effective haunted house story and one which envelops you in its stifling atmosphere of insanity. I think I should have been a writer, you know.
You've given it 8 out of 10.
8?
Would you give it higher?
It's got to be higher.
Give it higher now.
And I said, how scary does McCoy look on the cover? Does he look scary?
You can't really see him. The printing's not come out very well. He's very
it's sort of intense. Yeah. Well, the Master looks quite scary as well. Well, there we go. I mean, so I was quite in favour. Yeah, and again, I think it's the same opinion, really. I think it goes, for me, Davros best, then Master, then Omega. How do you rate them?
Yeah, Master, Omega, Davros.
Maybe Master, Davros,
Oh,
Omega.
I'm surprised Sylvester McCoy's bench top spot there.
That's the only time he ever will, I think.
Well, then
What
that
do we do
must
now?
mean it's time for Mark's chronology moment.
I mean, it does say in the Big Finish, in the CD booklets, where these stories are placed, but I might not agree with them.
Things have changed since then.
Yes, yeah, but this was early days. So, I mean, Omega is pretty easy. We're going to put it straight after Arc of Infinity. That's where it sits. But later on, we are going to get a few more stories that sort of complicate it. Well, it has to be. Well, it has to be after Arc of Infinity, doesn't it?
For the Doctor, though.
Nee Fountain specifically said it was.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, where's...
Yeah, and for the Doctor as well. Yeah.
Where's Nissa and...
Well, they stay behind in Amsterdam for a bit because we've got, later on, we have Waters of Amsterdam, where the Doctor has been off and left Nissa and Tegan. And there's a couple of lost stories. Is it The Elite, I believe, where that's set directly after Arc of Infinity, and Nissa and Tegan have been shopping in Amsterdam. And Tegan comes back onto the TARDIS and is like, "You've moved all my stuff." At the moment, though, it's really simple. It's straight after. It's straight after Arc of Infinity.
Okay.
We might shop that along a little bit, but it's difficult with the Fifth Doctor because he's not on his own very much. Finding these gaps where he can go off, it's pretty tricky.
Yeah.
So this is one of the prime gaps in Amsterdam.
I'm trying to think of other solo Fifth Doctor stories.
Yeah, he has quite a few. Yeah. Anyway. That's that. Davros.
Oh, yes, more excitingly.
Well, the booklet says between the two Doctors and Time Lash, but I think if we're going from Time Lash to Revelation of the Daleks, that's too soon to have Davros back again in Revelation.
Well, quite,
I
yes.
think. So
Eric Saywood and J&T wouldn't do two Davros stories in close succession.
No. So I'm going to move it a bit earlier and put it between Mark of the Rani and the two Doctors.
It's not that much earlier.
One story.
But it's just because Mark of the Rani is the first time we hear about Peri's botany, and she's at a botany conference in Davros.
Oh, is she? Did they say that?
That's what he's...
So
yeah,
there is a bit of logic in there.
So that's why that's the earliest I think it can go. Yeah, I mean,
maybe he
later
wanted
on, though...
because it's been so terrible, his experience with Davros, he wanted that trip to Seville afterwards.
Maybe, let's say that.
Yeah, I can buy that. Plus, there'll be more audio sprinkled in there, won't there?
Yeah, in season 22, yeah, because there's a few... Depends if you want to set them after Revelation or before, but we'll get to that sometime.
You know when you use a particularly large sex toy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Imagine how large that toy's got to be to fit in all those RMM stories between Planet of Fire and Caves of Androzani.
We can just bin them.
Moves, he'll never sleep tonight.
The Master, so it's solo Seventh Doctor. There's going to be a lot of these, unfortunately. So what we're fitting them in what we've done before. So we've done Last of the Titans, that freebie one. We've had Sirens of Time.
Is that Nicholas Briggs?
Yeah. We've had Project Lazarus and Excelis Decays.
Oh, right.
I feel like this is a bit early.
Actually, you're right. There is a common theme there. They're all shit.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean.
Thank God for Master.
They are terrible. It's going to be a really bad season of stories.
I like the ones coming up later, though.
Yeah, but I feel like Sirens of Time, Project Lazarus, Excelis Decays are sort of the more older Seventh Doctor, and I feel like he's not the TV movie Doctor in this one, particularly. So I'm going to put it as early as we can. I'm putting it before Last of the Titans.
You realise as you get towards the end, you're doing the ones towards the end of his run, you're going to have to put the last day photograph last every time.
I know.
It's literally the last day.
It is, apparently.
The most important question I have to ask you in this podcast is, you see how truly sexy this man is, yeah? I mean, how much even sexier is he when he starts talking about Doctor Who chronology?
I love chronology corner.
Oh, my God.
Making things fit into holes they shouldn't fit into. It's what Mark Raw is very good at.
XXX.
So that's where our three are.
Oh, wonderful. And I assume you're going to tie that up with your fabulous graphics.
The graphics are up now, yes. Are we going to go over to find out what people thought on Twitter?
That's right. And we especially wanted to do this with Luke Malloy on because I know he'll give his opinion on the comments.
Am I reading these out?
You are. You always read them out.
No, I can't see from over there. Right.
Okay, you ready?
Okay, so we have Aaron Michael Reed, who says, is that Hugo Myatt in Omega, the same Hugo Myatt as Tregard, the Dungeon Master from Nightmare? Yes, it is.
Yes, I better answer that one because he's too young. Absolutely it is.
Who's this? Pete Patchell.
He's got a blue tick, look.
He has, yeah. You've got to pay for them these days. A great set for its variety, with perfect choices for the Doctor in each. Master is refreshing for being a slow-paced thinker, which suits Seven's manipulator sensibilities. Davros is a strangely fun dark comedy, pairing him with Six as a cosmic odd couple, smartly satirising corporate culture and its incentives. And Omega's twist is absolutely genius, partly because it's so apt for Davison's Doctor. Okay, so he sort of agrees on a lot of what we said. Yeah,
he sounds like a very clever man, doesn't he? Oh, yeah. Talking of clever men.
Here we go. James Lark says 3 of the best, which all reward repeat listenings.
Immediately, I want to say that I think that's true of all 3 stories.
It's true of Master and Omega, yeah. I was not rewarded when I listened to Davros again. I was just further bored.
Just bored.
You did repeat listenings, though.
Well, he did it for this, because he loves us.
As well as finding interesting new approaches to the titular villains, these are written to exploit the strengths of the guest leads, and crucially, the individual Doctors giving us some of their best performances. Yeah. I think they are written. I don't think you can mix up the Doctors with these. I think they fit exactly who they're written for.
Even as I don't hate Colin in Davros. I think he gives a fine performance, but I think he's a lot better in other places. But you still couldn't swap him out.
I think a Davros story has got to be Colin, right?
That sort of one-upping they do with each other. It's only
and
Colin
like
can do that.
Malloy and Baker love each other.
Yeah. Because you get like Davison and Davros in a room in Resurrection, and it's fine, but it's the you we really care about it. Whereas there's 2 big characters in the room, isn't there? When Colin's there.
Yeah, I'm not sure the screen's, big enough for them, but yeah, you're right. Okay, you have to do these in order. So this one first.
Okay. Ken Moss says, Omega's surprise twist comes very late in the day and caught me completely off guard. The comedy is counterpointed with moments of horror, such as the hand being sawn off.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some lovely bits of dialogue, such as the electronic mugging machine scene. 3rd place.
So it's 3rd place.
Okay.
Okay, what's going to be 2nd?
Davros has a truly great guest cast and writing quality far in excess of what was to come years down the line. The Doctor behaves like an irritating twat most of the time, and it's a wonder he isn't turfed out. Weak moment when he literally runs from a nuclear blast. 2nd place.
I really don't let, science hold up my Doctor Who stories, but we all know what a nuclear bomb is and how big it is, and
yeah, now you said that, though. The other bomb, the one that's in the mine shaft, that's what confused me, because that went off.
Yeah, and that's meant to be a nuclear bomb.
And then everyone was fine.
Everyone just sort of climbed the ladder.
But isn't there the bomb in the dome? Yeah, that did cross my mind, but
it'd be fine if it just didn't say the word nuclear. It's stupid, but it does get on my tits.
And then he finishes with, Master has a synergy of story, cast, sound design and music coming together to produce something more than the sum of its parts. The best Joe leads to script, and the friendship backstory is explored better here than it ever was on TV. One of the all-time great.
I think Series 10 gives it a run for its money. That friendship between the Doctor and the Master. No,
sorry. Actually, the little boy staring into the abyss in The Sound of Drums is the best version of this story.
Oh, no way.
No, but we're talking about a friendship between the Doctor and the Master. The closest you come to that is Capaldi and Missy.
I mean, that works as well. And again, it's brilliant chemistry.
Mark's not.
Who's this? Absent with Concept says...
Sounds like Davros.
Omega and Davros are 2 of my not sure why everyone rates them so high list. Ooh. Although I really do need to revisit them, as well as everything else on that list. Master is one of the finest Big Finish monthly range, and McCoy's best ever performance.
Lots of love for Master. Oh, here we go. James H. We're in trouble now.
H says, Omega has everything Doctor Who needs and an adventure game in joke. Is there one? I don't know. Great performances all round, and possibly one of Big Finish's greatest cliffhangers that basically forces you to listen to the story a second time straight after the first.
Yeah, you do want it to see out. Yeah, that's what I said, didn't I, with the second listen.
Yeah.
You'll love this.
And then on Davros, he says, others like it, I hate it.
Yes.
Arse-numbingly long, a waste of guest actors, and Christ, even Terry Nation will question just how awful the radiation science is.
Yes.
Not one I ever willingly plan to revisit.
You
Come
just
on.
remember that the next time you
sorry.
listen to his Wedding of River Song episode. All right.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's that James H. Oh,
No, Terry Nation wishes he could have written that. Right, Master. I can never make up my mind on this one. A sublime performance by his darkness.
By his darkness.
But the presence of an NA-style personification of death never sat well with me. Plus, at the time, I was pissed it didn't tie in with Dark Path, and the twist wasn't a shock at all.
James, I love you, but no one gives a shit about a David A. McKenzie past Doctor
That's the one.
Adventure.
That's a missing adventure with
The
Roger
second
Delgado
Doctor
and the second
Roger
Doctor.
Delgado, and it explains how he went evil.
And he's got a name.
right.
The Master's got a name in that one, hasn't he?
Kosheki or something like that. Oh, it's really terrible. Anyway, come on.
Oh, well, oh God, I need to get his name right. David Gillespie Pratt says, peak Big Finish, but that's hardly a controversial opinion. 3 bold, creative and fascinating plays, well written, well performed. They all work perfectly for each of the Doctors. Even the artwork has been dialed up several notches. Yes!
It's very satisfied.
I think I do really like it, yeah.
Oh,
Here we
look,
are.
here's trouble.
Rod Who, the pinnacle of Big Finish.
Pinnacle, he says.
3 intimate, character-driven epics.
Intimate.
Dripping with atmosphere and suspense.
Dripping.
That dare to develop both heroes and villains
Dare.
in unexpected but consistent ways.
Consistent.
These are stories into which you can totally wallow, unlike the slighter whiz-bang tales of late.
Yes, bang.
I think we do have to sort of dispel this. I mean, I agree that there's so much sort of mixed, middling Big Finish content now, but I don't think this sort of like idea that it never got better than the first 50 in the main range is actually that true. I think it's just that's when you first got into the Big Finish.
I think it's never been as consistently good as the first.
But also,
but the first 50 are quite inconsistent. It's just that
no.
it's the first
30
time
of those 50 are bangers.
It's the first time they can actually spread the wings and do something new on audio, and it gets harder and harder to do.
You're
that.
lucky if you've got a box set where everything is competent.
I see
these
what you
days.
mean on that, but also there was a point when they were like, right, we need to do TV soundtracks with the new series. It was the new series that changed it, I think.
And I think that,
that's
yeah,
what it was.
but
They were like, we need to compete with this now.
because it's doing
So
the
it
new
has to be all
series,
this
like we're old
bigger stuff.
farts that like the classic series. Sorry, you're not old. I am. That like the classic series, and so we like this slower approach.
But it was
like
based on the
classic
template
series.
of the classic series.
Yeah, but I
whereas
know-
nowadays it's a sort of a classic series on a template of the
Do you
new
know what you
series.
started it?
I think.
I know what Luke's saying.
Interesting.
though.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
He's saying there is an audience for the new
I've never
series
seen-
style adventures.
Yes.
No, I'm saying if you get into Big Finish, like that sort of becomes your golden age. Like as much as you might not agree, I think the golden age of Big Finish for me is Dark Eyes.
Oh, God, I knew he was going to say Dark Eyes. Say Dark Eyes every time.
Will you get in your
I know.
Tony box and get out of here, the doctor?
But I'd listened to a few Big Finishes here and there before, and it was like cool. And then I listened to the Dark Eyes one, and I was suddenly in. And then I
Well,
started
Dark Eyes
getting-
1. That's, not all the others.
Well, the others have got good stuff.
And
in
Doom
them.
Coalition.
I mean, I don't want to push the point too much.
There's some
but-
highs in there, though. That's what I'm saying. Like,
No, there are, yeah.
it is probably just as inconsistent as the main range. But the one thing the main range has going for it in the early days is that it's all new ground. So whatever it does, it's brand new. It gets harder and harder to do that as it goes on.
I don't want to push this point to an absolute extreme, but most of the people making these comments saying it's peak Big Finish are between the ages of 40 and 60.
But I don't think they would make a story with a quieter story. Like a 4-part
if
quieter story with a
No,
few
no, I
people
don't
like
miss it.
Master,
I
that
miss
wouldn't
it.
be made now. Because
If I was around then when these three came out and it was brand new and it was the thing, yeah, the sort of memories of that and listening to these at the time that would be fully golden age. This sort of stuff comes out every other week now, Big Finish. So not to this quality, but I mean like using these elements of old monsters, old villains.
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
So
I think it's very bold of you to say that a Nick Briggs penned box set is peak Big Finish. But that's why I love
Dark
you.
Eyes is up
Lloyd.
there. Yeah, Dark Eyes is up there.
Oh no, look at the next
It's a different
comment.
style. Okay, here we go.
Look at
Let's
completely
carry on.
what we're talking about as
so
well.
Matty, not a fan of the Omega one, but Davros and Master are peak Doctor Who.
No way. Look, next.
Al and Psy-Heart, one of the strongest trios of stories ever. Brilliant, inventive storytelling, getting under the skin of 3 great Doctor Who villains. Clever and thrilling. Great covers too. Kieran, a brilliant trio of stories for me. Master is particularly great. Steve Dillon, Davros was best. Malloy's finest.
But he's written Malloy how we spell Luke Malloy there.
that's right.
No.
Yeah. Oh no.
No.
Oh, he's put Malloy.
No, it's
That's
not
it.
different.
Fun fact as well, my dad is actually called Terry Malloy.
Ah,
It's not the Terry Malloy. It's so sad.
I want him to come in the door now and go, I hope you don't mind me interrupting this fascinating conversation.
It was one of those where whichever one I would have got first, maybe Remembrance on DVD, and the credits are rolling, and I'm going, what? What? And I'm like, because I would have been like 10 years old, I ran to my dad, and I was like, you weren't Davros in Doctor. He's got no idea what
Will
I'm
you
talking
send me
about.
his signature, please? I'm going to send him the cover for Davros. That is one.
Right. Stolas, the Demon Burb, says Omega, almost like a Gallifreyan history documentary. Nev Fountain's script was full of wit.
Full of wit, yeah.
Davros, the Sixth Doctor and Davros working with each other made me laugh my arse off. Great Lance Parkin script.
How do you laugh your arse off? Laugh so hard your arse falls off.
Yeah. Master, Joseph Lister offers a masterclass. Hee in how to write horror.
Stolas, you are a comedian.
Right. And Andy Parkinson says, I really enjoyed Davros. Terry Malloy is excellent as Davros. I've given up on Omega for now as it wasn't grabbing my attention. Yes,
Oh my
agreed.
God, look at this. Mikey Smith's foaming at the mouth.
Mikey Smith, I need this episode in my ears. Master is very, very good.
He's not going to be disappointed, is he? All the controversy that's gone on tonight.
Oh, I love Mikey.
So do I. Oh, man, he's funny, isn't he?
Adrian
so good.
Berry, I loved the Davros and Master stories. Think I nodded off listening to Omega. See, yeah, I think
There's a
Omega's
bit
the
of
weakest
slighting
one.
of Omega. I think.
It's not the weakest one.
No.
Oh, my God, do this.
Oh, Nev Fountain says, Omega seems to be written by someone who loves the smell of his own farts. It's got some good parts, but it goes on a bit.
God bless him.
Oh, God. I forgot that Big Finish writers get involved in
Oh,
this.
they know me.
Can we re-record?
No. Lance Parker's coming for you now, baby.
Pesky Splinter, Eternal Goats Celebrant. Omega is the strongest overall story with a fantastic twist and an interesting look at the idea of legacy and how the telling of history influences the perception of people living in those times. Especially as a character like Omega, it's very easy to overuse and make him come across as unsympathetic or cartoonishly evil. Pretty solid one in my opinion. Davros has just incredible character work and stellar delivery by Terry Malloy. Just his monologues about his time in stasis and the opening are seared into my mind just as incredible pieces of art.
Okay, even I wouldn't go
There we
that
go.
far. He only says this is not the start. This is only...
No, this is not the end.
This is only...
This is only the beginning.
And they continue. And bouncing off the Sixth Doctor was a solid choice too. Overall, I think the story dragged.
Bouncing off the Sixth Doctor.
Oh, Jesus. He's got 15
Oh my God,
tweets.
we've
We
got a
can't
lot.
read all
Okay,
this.
hang on, just
Just
finish
as a
what I'm
start.
doing here.
Bloody hell.
Bouncing off the
Splinter, you've got some time on your hands.
Bouncing off the Sixth Doctor was a solid choice.
Bouncing off him? Is that a fat joke?
Season 23.
After he ate all the pies.
Overall, I think the story drags, but the character moments are top notch. Okay, we'll just do.
Just that'll do.
Master.
Just that,
Okay, the Master has the vibe of a VNA, probably because it feels like the inverse of human nature. Again, some pretty solid character moments.
It's got the feel of a venereal disease.
VNA.
Oh, a
I gotta
virgin
say,
new
I'd
adventure.
I never thought about that sort of inverse of human nature thing till you said it before. Yeah, it's
Look
interesting.
at this. More Big Finish writers throwing shade about.
Well, Johnny Morris says Master goes on a bit. Cal Josh Bebop says Omega was definitely the best of the three. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Bit of Omega love.
Having an insane twist and being very enjoyable. Everyone remembers that twist, don't they? Davros.
It's a huge moment.
Yeah.
That's a great
I don't
moment.
think we just have so many rare moments like that.
You don't have rug pulls like that very often.
That's what I mean. It's an idea that could be fumbled in any other way, but it's perfectly executed.
Because it's so late in the day as well. It's not like the episode 1.
Oh, you have to read that bit out.
Okay.
It's going to be well out.
They also carry on. Davros is well written, but slow and a bit of a slog.
Agreed.
The flashbacks with the Doctor appearing where he wasn't was the best part. Master was an intriguing idea that didn't work.
Cal Josh Bebop is not impressed. Left-handed Dalek, on the other hand.
Okay, Left-Handed Dalek. What a trilogy. I don't think much of Omega, as I've never sat down and given it my full attention. You don't need to. Davros is almost perfect. It's slightly too long. That opening speech gives me chills. Colin is great, as per usual. Master is my favourite Big Finish, having that darker 7. Oh, they did continue, but okay, never mind. Chain Link 2. Davros was great. Master was pretty good, and I didn't really get Omega. Had its moments, but it felt like the plot vanished up its own arse towards the end.
Yeah, there was a lot of plot in there.
Greg Campbell. Davros is by far the best of the 3. Master is also decent. Omega, not so much.
It's sort of shifting around from person
it's
to
nice
person,
that everyone's
isn't it?
got their own little
Yeah.
favourites.
Oh, God, how'd you say that?
Confucius
says, Omega is all right, Davros is amazing, Master is peak. Sleepy Bird, Omega is definitely the best one. Just fascinating.
Everyone's got their favourites. It's really nice.
Well, because they are different. They're all very different, aren't they? So
Davros is excellent, also good exploration of his evil without the Daleks. I think the 2 parts is a bit too much, though. Master is great. Geoffrey Beavers is the GOAT.
what's a goat?
The greatest of all time.
There's a question for Luke Malloy there. Look.
Channel Satellite. Right, okay, question. Is it Omega,
or Omega?
Omega?
Well, I think Greek-wise, it's actually Omega, isn't it? But
Omega.
everyone says Omega.
Omega, yeah.
Now, a lot of these comments are sort of of a similar ilk. So I wonder if we should just dash past some of them and get to the more interesting
all of them
ones.
How many are left? Christ.
Well, there's a couple more. Do your last 3 there. Go on.
Okay, Will B. I've listened to Master and thought it was one of the best I've heard. Luke Bartolo. It's probably a good trilogy, but my experience of it is coloured by the fact that I had a really bad car accident 14 years ago while listening to Davros.
Oh, no. Oh, Luke Bartolo. Oh, he still looks quite pretty. I mean, not as pretty as our Luke.
dear.
He's quite pretty.
That is...
Oh,
no.
Oh.
I mean, even without the car accident, it's still a pretty shit listen.
And Dan the Man Lamb, contenders for the best Who stories of all time and just top-notch radio dramas in general. The decision to approach each one from the perspective of the question, what is a villain exactly, is great already, but all of them find such deep, thought-provoking answers.
Yeah, they are sort of variations of that theme, aren't they? There is just
one from...
Yeah, I'm just going to go looking for it now.
And I found them all variations on how thin can you draw the line between the Doctor and the villain and what motivates them. That seemed to be in all 3 of them.
Johnny Morris's comment went on a bit longer, actually.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Johnny Morris
About
on Master says, I remember listening to it on the train going to Richmond, and as episode 4 passed the 40-minute mark, I was wondering whether I'd get to Richmond before the story ended. It was a close run thing.
He's such a bitch. I swear to God. There was a comment from Lance Parkin as well, which I feel as if Luke needs to hear.
There's some of Lance Parkin stuff I like. Just to put it out there. He did the Infinity Doctors, didn't
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
he? Yeah, love that book. That's a great book.
Yeah.
Father Time. It's wonderful. Oh, what a shame it seems to have vanished. Basically, can I just
Okay, what did he say? Yeah.
So, Joseph Lister commented, thank you, Joseph, for coming up and saying hello. And he basically said, I'm so deeply honoured to be in a trilogy of stories with two of the finest writers that Big Finish have ever produced. And then Lance Parkin then turned up and said, whatever the control alt is for copying someone's comment, and says exactly the same thing. And what a true honour it was to be with the two greatest writers that Big Finish have ever created. And then Neve Fountain replied at the end of it, fuck off the pair of you. I'm too good for this shit. Well, thank you everybody for your comments.
Yeah, mixed bunch there.
I think all we learned from that really was that everybody has a different favourite.
Everyone's got their favourite.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Which is like us.
Well, no, me and Mark both said Master, so...
Yeah, I think Master, yeah. But Davros is a controversial one here, I think.
I think so, but I think it's quite nice to hear both sides. Look, we've got 3 minutes left of this recording before I've got to press stop. So I suppose it's just time for us to say thank you so much for coming on for your second visit to Finish Big.
I've got quiz questions here.
Oh my God, I've got a quiz.
Shit, yeah. Hang on. I'm so sorry, Luke. I forgot all the effort and research you've done to do your quiz questions.
I've been sat here for 2 hours. Now I want oral. Give me oral audacity.
How audacious do you want your oral? Actually, as a side note, do you know what I learned today? I learned that if you take out a rib, right?
Oh, God.
Rib bones, you could give yourself a blowy.
Well, yeah, because people have that. They like contortionists can do it, can't they?
Oh, can they?
Yeah.
Oh.
John Pertwee can do it, and he had all his ribs.
Oh, God. I mean, we'd never go out, would we? I just want to know if all those straight men would spit or swallow. Anyway, on to the questions.
Swallow. So you've got no questions, so it's just me questioning you?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we...
It's basically me versus Mark.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 questions on Omega, 1 on Davros, and 3 on Master. So there's 3 each, but one of you will have to have 2 on Master.
Oh, I see. We're going to do different questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, let's do it.
Okay, we'll have different ones. I thought it was
He's
just
in
like
charge.
literally
It's
one
quite
for each
exciting.
story,
You
but
two against
fine.
each other. The
Okay.
Davros one is fucking nasty, to be fair. Right, we'll do the Omega ones then. So, Mark, what is the name of Omega's ship?
Oh, fuck. Oh, God.
And if you don't know it, Joe, you can pinch it if he says he doesn't know it.
No, I don't. I don't know it. They say it so many times in the story as well. No, I don't know.
I feel like it starts with a P. No, go on.
It starts with an E. It's the I can't even say it. The Eurydices.
Oh, I didn't know that at all.
Okay,
Well, there you go.
Joe's question. Who plays Omega on stage?
On stage?
Yeah, like the name of the character
The
that
story.
plays him on stage in Omega.
Oh, is it Hugo Myatt?
Yeah, but the character.
What's his character's name?
Yeah.
Oh, Van de Carrion?
No.
Oh.
Over to Mark.
I mean, I know it begins with D, but I don't know any. It begins with D, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
I can't remember the rest though.
Darland.
My God, we weren't paying attention at all.
No.
The Davros question is just nasty. I might.
Oh, God.
Go on.
I'll throw it over to both of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want it to the nearest minute. How long is the second part of Davros?
Part 2 is I think it's 70 something.
No, it's
Or is it short?
79 minutes.
No, it's not that long. I think it's 72.
It's 78 minutes.
No.
Joe
I
gets
knew
the
it was
point.
longer.
God,
No, no. Yes, because it was a 90-minute train journey, and we started it at Eastbourne, and we finished it at Clapham. So I knew it was nearly 90 minutes because it's an hour and a half to London. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, you
God.
won
Wow.
up there, Joe. I mean, that was just my anger at how long it was. The second part is 78 minutes 4 seconds.
How angry you were.
And the first part is 73 minutes 52 seconds.
Oh, right.
A very reasonable time for 2 instalments, I think.
Mark. The Doctor made a deal with Death to give the Master some years of untainted life before killing him. But how long did he give him? How long was the time?
It's 10 years.
Correct. Yeah. Nice.
Oh, that's so easy. That is the easiest question so far.
Right.
Mine
Okay.
was
Well,
pretty
it's the
easy.
next. Yeah, yours one's fairly easy.
If I get this right, I'll win.
Oh, I'll give you the harder one then.
Oh, balls.
How many women has the serial killer killed?
Oh, is it the same as the Ripper? Is it 7?
No, over to
Yeah.
Mark.
Oh,
I thought because they were talking about it's only like 2 or 3. I think.
the way he's
I
looking
think they're
between us
talking
right
about
now.
the third. I'll say 3.
No, it's 12.
Oh,
Oh,
He kills
I was
loads.
closest.
That many?
Do I get a point?
No. Are you both on 1-1?
Yeah. We need one
Okay.
more question.
Yeah, the next question, but it is fairly easy, so it's whoever shouts first on this one.
okay.
Yeah. What is the name of the woman Death pretends to be? The maid.
The one. Well, Jade.
There you go.
Because jade is the colour of death. God
Jade,
damn it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Played by Wendy Paprey's daughter.
Was it? I just kept seeing Jade Goody. She was about the time, wasn't she?
Well done, Mark. You've won oral
What's the prize?
audacity.
Yes.
We'll discuss the prize off the record.
No, the prize is another recording with Luke Malloy in the future.
Yes. Come
Your
on.
time is the greatest prize you could possibly give us.
Yes. I'll be back. I'm always back. I'm your biggest
I
fan.
know. Well, can you tell everybody, please, when you will be returning and what you will be exploring?
Well, we're going to do Gallifrey Season 1, Series 1. I've never, ever listened to the Gallifrey range. I don't know anything about it. I've got no concept of what it even is or about. I just know that Romana and Leela are in it.
Do you know who's one of the main characters in Gallifrey? Inquisitor Darkle, Linda Bellingham's character from Trial of a Time Lord. Yeah.
No. Oh, well, I'm a big Trial fan.
Yes.
That's even better.
Yeah.
And this is quite interesting because it's something that you've never seen, never listened to before.
And it feels
so
like,
it's
I don't know, as an outsider, it feels like a product of its time, and that's me saying it's not even listened to it. Yeah, well, I mean,
But
how
you
far?
like a Gallifrey story.
Occasionally.
That's very Gallifrey.
I might not like 4 in a row.
he likes Hellbent though.
Okay, yeah. There you go.
How far away is it in the sort of scheme?
It's not long after
not
Zagreus,
too
is it?
far, Not too well, because Zagreus sets up Romana and
Oh, yeah, it
Leela
does.
meeting, but we've got quite a few other ranges and episodes to come up. So it's a
Plenty
little
of
while,
time
not
to
too-
listen
yeah,
to it,
little
don't
time,
you?
yeah.
Laura?
Yeah, no,
Time
I'm
to
just
listen.
wondering. I
Yeah.
don't know where it came out. I'm also need to sort of listen to the main range between 50 and 100 just so I can keep up with being your biggest hoe as well. Because
we'll have you back in the main range anytime you
I
like,
sort
baby.
of go into the abyss after 50. I don't really know quite a lot of them releases.
There's some great stuff in there as well.
It goes sort of slowly downhill and then it goes back up again,
Towards
I think.
the end, yeah.
But anyway,
Well, where are
what
we
shall
going?
I say? I'll say where we are sticking with the main range.
It's the
because
big one.
Next time, it is.
Previously on Doctor Who.
It is
7 minutes.
Zagreus. Next.
What was that?
That's what he says at the end. I have become Zagreus.
Yeah, but that's why Paul McGann acts and you don't. Jesus Christ. I love in that trailer. You get what is it, 8 minutes of Neverland.
yeah,
The
that's
previously
Doctor,
is 7 minutes.
I love you too, but for the sake of all of time and space, that was so far back.
Yeah.
I feel like we did
It was
Neverland
a while
like
back.
2
Yeah,
years
yeah, but
ago.
it was, but in release time there was like over 12 months between Neverland coming out and Zagreus coming out.
Oh, it's just the pace
It was
of
a lot.
these
I'm
finished
going
bits.
to be
Yeah.
lapping up every word Mark
Yeah.
says because I know he's a big Zagreus fan. No,
Oh,
Zagreus is. Oh,
Do you know what? I feel it's appropriate. I started this episode with an insult about Sophie Aldred, so I may as well finish on it as
for
well.
fuck's sake!
I do think she gives her most stellar performance in Zagreus
Every
as
episode.
Sergeant Duck.
Every episode. You're going to change your mind. You're going to love it.
Do you remember her? She goes, "Hello, I'm Sergeant Duck. Quack, quack." She'll do anything to pay her gas bill. She will.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about Zagreus. What, 4 hours of it?
It's the length of a modern day box set.
It is, yeah. It's got everyone in it. Oh,
I
yeah,
feel
it's gonna
it
be
goes
good.
quicker than Davros though.
Well, that is a matter of opinion. I'll let you know, all right?
Right, so yeah, we'll be back soon with that. And in the
Join us
meantime,
in the exit line, don't forget to
Finish big! It is only the beginning!